In the diplomatic corridors of Washington and Ankara, officials are working through a negotiation that would have seemed unlikely just a few years ago. After half a decade of tension, the United States and Turkey are now weighing the possibility of bringing Ankara back into the F-35 fighter jet program, a program Turkey helped build, invested billions into, and was abruptly removed from in 2020. The discussions are quiet but steady, and while neither side has made public commitments, the stakes are unmistakably high. Whether Turkey returns will depend on the fate of a single weapon system, the Russian-built S-400. The talks between the United States and Turkey over Ankara's potential reinstatement into the Lockheed Martin F-35 program mark one of the most consequential defense debates currently unfolding inside NATO. While the discussions are described by officials as preliminary but promising, they open a window into the security calculations of two long-standing allies whose relationship has strained under regional conflicts, defense disagreements, and diverging geopolitical priorities. Turkey had originally been a core partner in the Joint Strike Fighter program since 2002, contributing approximately $1.4 billion to aircraft development and participating as both a buyer and a manufacturing contributor. Turkish companies produced hundreds of parts for the aircraft, including fuselage components and parts for the landing gear and cockpit displays. Ankara had planned to acquire 100 F-35A fighters, which would have replaced portions of its aging F-16 fleet and given Turkey one of the most advanced air forces in the region. However, the program's trajectory shifted dramatically when Turkey purchased the Russian S-400 Triumph air defense system. The United States insisted that deploying the S-400 posed an unacceptable intelligence and security risk to NATO's stealth fighter program. According to US defense officials, the concern was that Russian technicians or system sensors could learn details about the F-35's radar-evading characteristics if the aircraft operated anywhere near an active S-400 battery. In 2020, Washington formally removed Turkey from the F-35 consortium and imposed sanctions under the Countering America's Adversaries Through Sanctions Act. The sanctions targeted Turkey's presidency of defense industries and restricted export licenses for US defense materials. For Ankara, the removal represented both a financial loss and a blow to its long-term air modernization strategy. The renewed dialogue comes at a moment when Ankara is strategically recalibrating its relationships with Western partners. Under President Trump's second term, there has been a broad push to reduce friction with key NATO states, especially those playing central roles in Middle Eastern stability. For Turkey, participation in the F-35 program is not merely about acquiring aircraft, it's about influence, interoperability, and securing a role in long-term NATO defense planning. Rejoining the program would restore access to one of the most advanced multi-role fighters in the world. The F-35 offers a combination of stealth, network-centric warfare capabilities, and sensor fusion that no current Turkish aircraft possesses. It would significantly enhance Turkey's ability to conduct reconnaissance, enforce territorial defense, and maintain air superiority in contested environments such as the Eastern Mediterranean, a region where Ankara has engaged in resource disputes with Greece and Cyprus. From Washington's perspective, rediscovering alignment with Turkey could help stabilize NATO's southeastern flank, especially as the alliance navigates tensions with Russia, conflicts in Syria, and complex energy politics. But the United States is bound by existing law. Any nation operating the S-400 cannot participate in the F-35 program without congressional adjustment or a significant change in the S-400's operational status. The S-400 remains the pivotal issue. Ankara has consistently maintained that it acquired the system because US and European alternatives either came with restrictions or were economically unattractive. Turkish officials have repeatedly said that abandoning the S-400 would compromise national sovereignty and undermine earlier defense investments. Washington remains firm that the S-400 cannot remain active if Turkey wants to rejoin the F-35 program. The law prohibits it, and U.S. defense officials continue to stress that the core risk is technological exposure. The U.S. Congress has taken an especially strict stance, with members previously warning that any concessions could encourage other allies to purchase Russian systems without consequences. Despite the legal and political constraints, negotiators are considering several theoretical frameworks that might satisfy both sides, though none have been publicly endorsed. These are deep storage model. Turkey could retain ownership but place the S-400 components in sealed long-term storage under monitored conditions. Second one is technical isolation. Ankara could pledge that the system would remain inactive, disconnected, and deployed far from NATO aircraft. And the third one is transfer to a third country. Although highly unlikely, some analysts have speculated that Turkey could relocate the system outside its territory. All of these ideas face challenges. Some would require new legislation in the US, while others raise questions for Turkey's domestic politics. But their existence reflects a clear effort by both sides to find an arrangement that meets security requirements without forcing Ankara to reverse its earlier decision publicly. Turkey's potential return to the F-35 program would have significant consequences for NATO cohesion. The alliance has struggled with internal disagreements over defense procurement, particularly concerning Russian equipment. Several NATO states have closely monitored the Turkey S-400 dispute as a precedent-setting case. For NATO air planners, Turkish F-35s would substantially improve the alliance's capabilities in the Black Sea region, which has grown more strategically sensitive due to Russian activity and increased militarization. With the F-35's advanced ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, sensors, Turkey could contribute meaningfully to collective warning and early detection missions. On the industry side, Lockheed Martin would benefit through restored production chains, as Turkish manufacturers had been responsible for producing up to 900 components before removal. Some of those parts were reassigned to US suppliers after 2020 at additional cost. Reintegrating Turkey would require re-evaluating those supply lines, but it could also reduce long-term production expenses. Officials familiar with the ongoing negotiations say that quiet optimism is building. The conversations are not described as rushed. Instead, they appear methodical and focused on creating a durable arrangement that both governments can defend domestically. The next steps involve technical teams assessing scenarios regarding the S-400 and identifying what adjustments, if any, could satisfy US legal requirements. Meanwhile, defense analysts expect the discussions to intensify over the coming months, particularly as Turkey faces decisions about its broader modernization plan. Ankara is already negotiating the purchase and co-production of upgraded F-16 Viper models and has been developing its own fifth-generation fighter prototype, the KAAN, although that aircraft is still years away from operational readiness. The negotiations are unfolding amidst shifting regional dynamics. Russia's influence in the Middle East and the Caucasus remains unpredictable. Turkey has expanded its defense exports, including the Bayraktar TB2 drone, which has shaped conflicts from Libya to Ukraine, and the US is reassessing its Middle East posture while balancing great power competition with China and Russia. Against this backdrop, Washington and Ankara appear to be re-evaluating their long-term partnership. The F-35 question has become both a symbol and a practical test of how far both countries are willing to go to re-establish trust. As the talks continue behind closed doors, the uncertainty surrounding Turkey's defense future and its place within NATO's most advanced weapons program remains unresolved. For now, both sides appear committed to exploring a path forward, but the final decision will come down to whether a solution for the S-400 can be crafted that satisfies security demands, legal barriers, and political realities. Until then, the future of Turkey's role in next-generation air power hangs in the balance.